guys, this is Krysta Phalen. Thank you for coming to my channel. Today's story is going to be a little bit sad and a little bit different than normal, but I refuse to be fake on here and I just want to tell you what's going on. So it took me all week to try to figure out how I was going to film this video, and I chose not to wear makeup because I could get emotional. You know, I'm 9 months pregnant and I tend to cry. So I'm making this video for all my loyal YouTubers and for any women out there who are who have a last minute surprise in their pregnancy, but also for my friends and family who I just haven't reached out to and kind of told the story of what's going on. So I want to start by saying I am okay and the baby is okay. That is obviously most important, and we are fine. We're fine. However, we got a big shock this week and I spent many days being in a really bad place about it. But now I am choosing to change my perspective and to get grateful. So I want to tell you guys what happened, and I also just want to start by some symptoms that I've been experiencing just so that I can like do my 39-week update like normal. When I leave my front door open, flies always come in. It's very weird, but you might see a fly. It's so weird. Happens like every time if I open the door. So we have a new friend now. But yeah, so some positive things that have been going on. I definitely got a lot bigger. My stomach definitely like popped. I'm sure I did before, but I really did this week. And we have been taking guesses on the baby's birthday because he could be born anytime in October. So everyone has their guesses in, so that's really fun. And if you don't, you can text me and I will write it on the calendar. He has not flipped yet. He is still on the opposite side, but that's okay. I'm not gonna worry about that anymore. Hopefully he flips during labor and everything's fine. I've been trying to walk more and get him to drop down. It's so funny because I had this whole list of things that I wanted to talk about for this update, and now so many of these things are not valid anymore. They don't apply anymore. So 39 weeks. I was doing really well. Everything was picture perfect. They had given me a list of things to start inducing labor: eating pineapple, walking, you know, making love, and all of these things to start inducing labor. And I remember going home from my appointment and telling my husband Andrew, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's here. I can't believe this is happening. It's time to start actually trying to have this baby. He's ready to be born. And so we were really excited, and Andrew was like, let's literally do everything. I want him to come now. So he's really excited. So Thursday I pick up Kendall and I'm taking her to gymnastics, and I get a phone call. And as you guys know, if you've watched any of my videos, they've been monitoring my iron and my blood platelets. My blood platelets had gone up, everything was fine, and we were perfectly fine to give birth in the birthing center. They just didn't want them to drop below 90. Definitely couldn't drop below 80. If so, then I would have to transfer to a hospital. We were just praising God that my blood platelets had risen and everything was fine. So on Thursday I get a phone call from the midwife, and I picked it up and I said, please tell me you have good news. They had tested me for all different kinds of things, how well my blood clots and things like that. So I said, please tell me you have good news. And she said, I'm so sorry, I do not have good news for you. And I'm like, okay, tell me what's going on. You know, it's gotta be fixable, right? And so she just basically said, your blood platelets have dropped under 80. They are now at 76. And we are transferring your care from our birthing center to a hospital. And that might not sound traumatic or sad to somebody or to, you know, any women who had planned for a hospital birth, but we had spent, you know, 8 months at this birthing center, investing all of our time and our energy getting to know these women, building relationships with them, really considering some of them friends. And I had an all-natural birth planned with aromatherapy and music and candles and just like this peaceful atmosphere. There wouldn't be anyone in the room besides me and my husband, the midwives, our doula, and it was supposed to be this beautiful experience of bringing our child into the world naturally and peacefully. That is what my heart was set on, and we were 1 week away from that being reality, maybe 2 weeks, you know, just depending on when the baby decided to come, that's where all of our money, we had put all of our money into this birthing center, and we had paid in full, and it was pretty expensive to pay everything up front, you know, and not get a bill later and kind of pay it off. It was a big investment for us. When I got the phone call that I was being transferred to a hospital that I've never been to. I've never been to a hospital. I've only ever been to like a waiting room or, you know, briefly into visiting somebody there, but I've never been checked in. I've never had anything go wrong, not in my adult life. Not that I can remember. So I've never been to this hospital, and I'm being transferred to a doctor that I do not know. And from what I understand, he wasn't the most friendly or loving doctor, but he was good at what he did. And she said that not only will I be being transferred, but I will be heavily monitored because since my blood platelets had dropped to 76, I was now at risk for bleeding out after the birth. And so everything immediately went from roses and butterflies and a fairy tale to now we're really concerned that you might hemorrhage after birth and you're no longer allowed to be in our care because we don't want you to die and for the baby to die. So that was really, really, really hard to hear. And I won't lie, I had to pull over. I cried harder than I have cried in a very, very long time. I had to pull over. I was scared I was gonna wreck my car. I had Kendall in the back seat. I was taking her to gymnastics. I called my husband and I just explained to him what happened, and before I could get any words out, he immediately thought that the baby wasn't okay. So to him, like, getting this news was a lot less scary because he immediately went to the worst. And so when he found out that this is what was happening, he calmed me down. He ran out of work. He came and met me. I made it to the house. Came inside. It was a really bad day, to say the least. I was devastated. I was terrified. And I felt really forgotten about by God, you know? Like, how could this be happening? How could I have made it 39? I was actually 39 and a half weeks. How could I have made it this far? And now all of a sudden I'm at risk for hemorrhaging and bleeding out and maybe losing myself, you know, maybe dying or losing the baby, or who knows what could happen. So she tells me, you need to go meet with a doctor at the hospital. So next day, my husband calls and gets everything figured out because I just wasn't in a good place. And he said that they wanted me to come in immediately, which was scary because why, you know? And so we went in and we met the doctor. I will not say who my doctor is. However, I didn't like him at all. He was, if I'm being honest, he was horrible. He was horrible. Like, he was the most condescending human being I have come across in a very, very long time. And I'm just being very real. I didn't wear makeup because I knew I was gonna cry, but I want to tell this story authentically in the way that it happened. And I am in a much better place, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm still in this situation, like in this place that I'm at now, but I'm still emotional, and I still, when I talk about it, I cry. So he's very condescending to me, and every question that I had, I felt like he made me feel very stupid, and he made it sound like I hated hospitals and I hated doctors, and that I was just so negative, and it was like he was like projecting all of these things on me that I had never said out loud. I was just asking him very basic questions. Some of them were, am I allowed to have a C-section if things go wrong? And the answer is actually no. I'm not allowed to have a C-section because with a C-section they are scared that you will bleed out. And so I asked him about an epidural if things got too hard, and I am also not allowed to have an epidural. So he said I would be allowed to go 41 weeks, and then we needed to talk about inducing me, which could potentially mean Pitocin, which is just a drug now that's in my system that's making labor really, really strong. And I am not with my midwife. I am not with the birthing center. I am not in a comfortable environment. I do not have a tub. And I will be in a hospital gown with no food. You can eat in the birthing center as much as you want, and in the hospital you cannot. And the whole environment is just more cold and sterile and scary to me because I could be having this baby in a week and I've had absolutely no time to prepare for a hospital birth, let alone did I think I was strong enough to handle it in a hospital setting. Because the only reason I thought I could do it is because of the relaxed atmosphere and because of it being calm, and these women are very soothing and they do this every day, and they're not scared of a natural birth, and they have all these techniques of like how to stop pain and all these things. And otherwise we would have considered a home birth also, you know, that could have been a very peaceful environment. But a hospital is very like, it's different, and I think everyone knows that, you know, it's very different. And to me that's very, very scary. My family, they don't live here. And so, it was just very scary. I won't have my mom or my sister or anybody here for the actual birth. And, at the time I was picturing it just being me and Andrew kind of fending for ourselves in this room because my midwife isn't coming, which is sad. I'm very sad about that. However, my doula texted me and asked if she could please be there, and that blesses me more than I can explain because I need her. I really feel like I need her. So yeah, so I didn't like the doctor. I feel like he was pretty terrible. However, he's supposed to be one of the best doctors in his field, and I just found out that one of our really good friends gave birth with him as their doctor, and apparently he's like a superstar in the medical field, and if I was gonna have anybody there, it would be him, or that I want there, it should be him, because he's so good at what he does. So that was very comforting. However, the risks are still present. If my blood platelets do not go up, then they are scared. He called it bottoming out. If I bottom out, which means if the blood platelets drop super low, then they will have a blood transfusion ready to go and be giving me a blood transfusion as I'm having the baby, and then you know, blah, 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 all these other risks of bleeding out and all these really terrible, terrifying things. And then he ends with, and you know, worst case scenario, mother mortality, mom bleeds out and dies, or we have to remove your uterus and you no longer get to have babies, or, you know, whatever else. So basically all I heard the whole time was fear, 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 fear. You need to be scared. You need to be fearful, 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 for 2 days straight. Now, obviously not from my friends or family, but from the medical world, the medical standpoint, I needed to be scared. And so I was for 2 days. I was an absolute wreck. I have not been like that in a very, very long time. I felt like I was grieving. I legitimately felt like everything had been stripped away from me, and I was grieving the loss of a really beautiful birth experience, and now expecting a very traumatizing one that could end in many different ways. And I just felt very, very alone, and I felt so abandoned by God. And so then I started to blame God. How could you possibly let this happen to me? I'm your daughter, I'm your child, I serve you, I live for you. How are you forgetting about me? And I just got into a really negative place that really nobody could pull me out of. I about had a panic attack when we had to go see the doctor because I didn't think Andrew was going to be able to go with me, and I honestly didn't think I could do it alone, and I wouldn't have done it alone. I wouldn't have gone. So he said, no, we may not tour the hospital, and no, I can't answer a lot of these questions because every birth is different. And so anyways, this is the part that I'm probably gonna cry through the whole video, but oh well. I have a tendency to want to portray happiness all the time because I'm a very happy and grateful person with a great life. And sometimes I forget that just bad things happen to good people. And I didn't want to make a YouTube video that was, you know, super positive and everything's gonna be okay if that's not where I was, and that's not how my heart was, and that's not how I felt. And I wasn't in a good place, and my faith was very, very low. So I just wanted to be very real and honest with what was going on. So my brother gives me a call, and immediately he said, "What's wrong?" Which I thought was so cool because I didn't think I answered really sad. I thought I just answered the phone, "Hello." And he said, "You sound like something's wrong. What's going on?" And immediately he said, "Hey, let me call you back." So he calls me back and he said, "God told me to have a friend of mine call you I know that she had a really traumatic birth, and for some reason I think that she's the one that needs to talk to you right now. I was like, okay. So she called. She told me a very, very traumatizing birth story that she had with her daughter, her only daughter, and it happened at 39 weeks, just like me. And she felt the same way. How could I get to the point where I could deliver my baby any day and everything was stolen? And she almost died several times, and it was very traumatic. It was very sad. And she went to the place that I know I would have gone, and she blamed God for 2 years. And she said that she didn't trust God, and she just blamed him for that being stolen, for him not protecting her. She read the same books that I'm reading, the supernatural childbirth, and just, you know, was standing on the word of God from day one, just like we're doing, and praying over this baby and believing for an amazing experience. And then all of this happened to her. Okay, so for 2 years, she's internally angry and traumatized and doesn't talk about it. And her husband is, you know, feeling the same way. But then she tells me that she's going on a missions trip, and they're doing these sozos. And if you don't know what that is, basically it's healing with Jesus. And so they'll take you back to a really traumatic memory, and then they'll ask you to find him in the room. And I've done all this. I've been through lots of healing myself, and I've gone through lots of ministries, or actually just one actually that was really good. But so I knew how powerful it is when you can find Jesus with you in a situation that was very sad or scary. And so she went back to that place, you know, in her mind with her husband, and he was there. And the guy that was doing the sozo said, "Can you find Jesus in the room?" And she said, "Yeah," and he looks worried. And apparently the guy doing the sozo and her husband see this picture in their mind, and he said, "This typically doesn't happen. I have to share with you what I'm seeing." And so I hope I'm telling this story right and doing it justice. Apparently, he saw Satan in the room and Jesus in the room. And Satan was drawing a map of how he was going to kill her, and how she was already on that path. Like, she was, you know, already on track for that. He was doing a lot of these things of how he was going to kill her and her baby. And that if it weren't for Jesus coming into the room, that she would have died. And how she was mad at God for 2 years for not protecting her, when in reality, he was the only reason she was still here and her little girl was here. And that just like changed everything for me, because things happen. And if you're a believer, then you know that the devil is literally out to kill, steal, and destroy all the time. It's all he does. And I believe that my baby has a calling on his life. I believe he's going to do powerful things for the kingdom of God. And why would the devil want us alive? And so of course he's going to come in to my birth experience and try to kill me, or try to scare me into believing that I'm going to die, and it being traumatic and horrible, and God knows what could have happened. And instead of praising Jesus for protecting me, I was going to that place of like, you're not there for me, you let me down, you know? And so hearing that story all day, that whole day, I kept hearing in my mind, change your perspective. And I even said out loud, I know I need to change my perspective, but I can't yet. Like, I wasn't ready to get grateful, you know? And so as she's telling me the story, she said that once that sozo happened, it changed her perspective, and that she's never looked at her birth the same again. And now she's able to tell me that story and give me hope. And it just like confirmed, like God had been telling me all day, like, you have to change your perspective. And so just that night I decided, like, I'm gonna get grateful, because if I go down one of two paths, I'm choosing one of two teams, you know, I can go down the path with the devil, and I can just agree with everything he's doing in my life and be very, very negative and scary and make agreements with darkness that I don't do. I don't stand on that. That's not how I live my life. Or I can partner with the creator of the world and just declare that he is going to keep me safe and protect me no matter what happens in this birth, even if it's horrible, even if it's traumatic, even if everything goes wrong, that Jesus is going to be with me. He is going to protect me. He is my strength, just like my baby's name means. Hezekiah means God is my strength. And then his middle name is going to be Rain. So, you know, he reigns. So I have to stand on that my baby is going to be healthy and I'm going to be healthy. And I woke up the next day and it was like I was a different person. I truly felt different. And it's incredible the power of thought and how when you take control of how you're going to view something, how everything changes. And the next day was just absolutely different. And so I started finding the positive in every single part of this hospital experience. I will find the silver lining, and even if there isn't one, and even if there isn't anything positive about being in a hospital without the people there to support me that I thought were gonna be there, with a doctor with a bad attitude, it doesn't make a difference, because I'm gonna choose to get grateful. I'm gonna be thankful for these doctors. I'm gonna be so thankful that they found out that I have this thing going on with my blood, so that I wasn't at the birth center and I didn't bleed out, or I wasn't at home and I didn't have an emergency. And I am just gonna be so thankful and grateful for everything that's gonna take place on this day. I am thankful that I'm gonna go into labor naturally, and it's just gonna be okay. And if it's not, it's still gonna be okay, because even if it's painful and horrible and horrific and awful, it's still gonna be okay, because I'm gonna have my baby. And there's so many women who try so hard to get pregnant, and my stepmom actually reminded me of this when she texted me and said, I don't want to share personal business, but she really struggled getting pregnant with my little sisters. And I remember that vaguely as a child, just like watching her cry. Anyways, and we just got pregnant so easily, literally the first time. And I need to be so grateful for that, because we're not doing IVF. I'm not sad about this like loss of not being able to be pregnant. Like, my baby is still alive and well. And I think October is Pregnancy Awareness Month, or like the loss of babies. And so it just like, it really just put things into perspective that I have to get grateful, and I will be grateful, and I do praise God, and I still love him, and I'm so thankful for everything that Jesus has done in my life, and he will continue to do in my life. My heart goes out to any woman who doesn't have their baby, because that's the only thing that matters. You know, you can get past the birth, but I can't imagine losing something you love. So if you are a woman who has lost her child, I just bless you, and I bless you with God's love, and I just pray that you just find the light in your situation, and that God, or that Jesus just shows you where he was in that situation, and maybe why it happened, or how it happened, or just something beautiful. God, I just pray that any woman who has dealt with any kind of loss, that you will just hug her and love on her. And you're always good, God. You are a good God. Bad things happen, and we do have an enemy, but you are a good God. And I just praise blessings over every woman out there, and anyone who's struggling with infertility, or just struggling with loss of any way when it comes to pregnancy. I had no idea how delicate making a life was. You know, you think you just get pregnant and have your baby. It's like, no, it's delicate, it's intricate, it's beautiful, it's a miracle, and it's so in God's hands. And so that's my story, and I am honestly much better than I seem. I knew I would cry in this video, but I also know that there is a big testimony to come out of what is happening. And I know that this is going to grow my faith, and I am so grateful for my husband, because he is my rock. He's my everything. Just love him so much. He has been there for me through every breakdown. There's been so many breakdowns over the past week. He is my miracle just in and of itself. God is just, he's so good. God is so good, and he just wants to love you and bless you. And so today was a different kind of day. It was a different kind of video. And if you know me, And if I haven't told you this story, I'm absolutely open to talking about it. You can call me if you're my friend or family member. Obviously, you can call me and I'll tell you what's going on. Things are much better now. I'm sorry if I know you and love you and I haven't gotten this story to you. I had a really rough couple of days and I didn't really want to share how bad they were. I'll go ahead and show you guys how big I am right now. I won't lie, I'm closer to 40 weeks than 39 right now, but it took me a few days to make this video. So I'm not sure if you can even really tell. I don't know what the background looks like. I'm definitely so much bigger than I was. So he definitely popped out, and I do not think that he has dropped because he still seems really high, like nothing seems lower. So I thank you guys and I love you guys so much, and I just appreciate you supporting me, and man, I love you guys. I really do. Thank you so much for watching my videos, and I hope you have an amazing week, and feel free to leave a comment. Make sure you subscribe, like my videos, whatever. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Bye guys.